Hi everyone, it's Lynn Dion from Pink Whisper Designs. I've got a really fun brand new stamp set to show you today from Art Impressions, and I also want to show you how to use some of your decorative journal page dies to create this fun flap for the front of your card. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start off stamping some of the strawberries. We're going to use those two stamps there, and these are from the berries set. This is part of the summer 2023 collection, so this is a fairly new set. I'm going to grab those two stamps. I'll place them onto my acrylic block, and for ink I'm using the Versafine Onyx black ink. This is a permanent black ink, and I'll be stamping onto some Strathmore 100-pound cardstock. This is a smooth cardstock, so it's going to make coloring really easy. So I stamped 5 of each of these. I wasn't quite sure how many I would need, so I decided to stamp plenty of these. And for coloring, I'm using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens in Geranium Red, May Green, and Deep Green. So I started off with that red on the berries, and then I'm just going to blend that a little bit. I'll add a little bit of a shadow around the edges, and then for the two greens, I'll start with the lighter green. I'll add that darker green, and then kind of pull that color out towards the edges. So I'm adding that darker green in the center. Now these zigs are a water-based marker, so I'm using my Zig blender pen to do my blending. And you'll only need to color in the leaves on 2 of these single strawberries. So let's go ahead and color in the little double strawberries, and I'm going to again use the same colors that I used on the other ones. And for these double strawberries, you don't need to color in the stem. We're not going to be using the stem today. So I'll do all of these pretty much the same way, and I'll finish coloring those off camera. Then what I'm going to do is add some of the little seeds, the little dots on the strawberries with my white gel pen. And let me give you a closer look at that so you can see that really adds a lot to these little strawberries. And then I use my detail scissors to cut those out. I just need 2 of these single strawberries with the leaves attached. So I left a little white border all the way around the edges. And then for the rest of these, I just cut away the stems. And for those, I cut right around the stamped image. So I didn't leave any white on these. So let's take a look at the brand new set we're going to be using. This is the Gardening Girlfriend set. And look at how cute these little ladies are. One has got the little watering can. We're going to be using that one there on the right hand side. Got these 2 little ladies sitting on the garden bench. And then we have an apron, a hat, and lots of coordinating sentiments. So let's go ahead and grab this lady. We're going to stamp this the same way we did before with that same Versafine Onyx black ink. I'm using my STAMPendable stamp press just to press that out. And then let's go ahead and color this in. So I'm starting with the blue-gray. So we'll give her a little pair of overalls. And this is a really pretty blue-gray. It's got a nice kind of faded jean look to it. So I'll put that color on either side of the pant leg, and then I'll pull that in towards the center. And we'll add a few more shadows down here where the little cuff is on the jeans. And all of the colors I'm using today will be listed in that upper left-hand corner as we're going along. And also, I do want to mention that all the products I'm using today are listed and linked down below and also on my blog. So now here for the other pant leg, I'm going to keep it darker kind of in the center towards the right hand side of the pant leg, and then pull that out towards the edges. Again, adding a little more shadow around the cuff on the jeans. And I kind of kept going back to this. You can let it dry a little bit and then come back in with more color. And just keep adding layers of that same color. You could certainly use 2 different blues here to do your shadowing, but I didn't really find one that I thought coordinated really well with this blue-gray. So I'm just going to use this one color and just keep adding layers of that. Let's switch over to the pale yellow and the bright yellow, and I'll use that on her shirt and on her shoes. And what's really fun about this set is all the coordinating sentiments. So you get the three different sets of ladies, the little one with the sprinkling can, this one that we're going to fill these baskets with strawberries, and then the other one is the two ladies sitting side by side on that little bench. So some of the sentiments that are included in the set, one says, "I just wet my plants," which is really cute. Crazy plant lady, keep on growing, best buds, we know all the dirt, garden life, I'm rooting for you, I'll never leave you, LEAF. You're never too old to play in the dirt, and that's true, that's fun. And then plants are my therapy. So really, again, you get a really nice collection of sentiments, so you can really change these up for whatever occasion or whatever friend you want to send that to. Here I've got brown and mid brown, and I'm going to do this pot in those two colors, and I'm adding them both at the same time. I'm adding the light color first, then a little bit of that darker color on either edge, and then we'll pull that in towards the center, kind of keep that highlight in the center of the pot there. Now I'm coming back in with a little bit of that darker color just to add a little color, a little shadow here around her hands and kind of around the lip of that container. Now let's go to beige and mid brown, and we'll do a similar technique. What we're going to be doing is filling these baskets filled with strawberries, so it's going to be really bright and colorful. I wanted to keep the pots kind of more in the muted tones, as well as her outfit, because I really want the strawberries to be the star of the show. And I also want to show you today, we're going to be using a decorative journal page die to do the front flap on the card. So I kind of wanted to show you some other things you can do with these page dies. Of course, you can create the beautiful journals with these dies, and they're really fun to do. You can have several pages in your journal, and they're just beautiful. They're fun to create and decorate. But I thought, since these journal page dies are just so pretty, you know that I use a lot of them for some of my borders and accessories and tags and things like that. But I thought I'd show you how you could create a really unique front flap for your card using these particular dies. Now here I've switched to the sugared almond pink and the flesh color to do her cheeks and her skin. I added a little bit of that sugared almond pink to each of her cheeks, and then I'll just blend that out a little bit with that flesh color. Now let's just grab the beige by itself and do just that little bit of hair that she's got there, and we'll add a little bit of a shadow up underneath the hat. And then I'm going to start bringing in that red. I've got the geranium red, and we're going to do her hat in that bright red so that it will coordinate really well with the little strawberries. Now I typically try to save the red for the last because sometimes it does bleed a little bit. So typically I'll do that very last if I can. Sometimes I get excited about using the red, so I'll use it beforehand, but typically the best way to go about it is to use it at the end. Now once that's done, I'm going to just use my detail scissors and I'm going to cut her out, and I will follow right against those stamped lines because this is really easy to cut out. There's really not a lot of detail to it, so that went really quickly. Again, going back to my white gel pen, I'm going to add a few highlights on those little pots, on her hat, and then down the side of the jeans there. So let's go ahead and create the card base. I've got some craft cardstock that measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I'll score that at 4 1/4. So this would be just like creating your standard A2 size card. But again, we're going to do something a little different and create a little flap for the front of the card. So now I want to show you the decorative journal page dies. And these are fairly new. And this is from set number 2. These 2 dies are from set number 2. We're going to be using both of those today. But I did want to show you the others. Now from set number 1, that's the page die, and that's the little frame die that you get with that set. And you also get this label die. And then going back to set number 2 is that really pretty frame die and also this little label for your sentiments. So again, I'll list that down below for you so you can take a look at those. Let's set that rectangle aside for now. I've got my card base and we're going to cut from the score line towards the right. Now that's the cut line, and then you've got that little frame, the edge of the frame. We're going to line up that edge of the frame right along the score line, so that makes this really easy. That will ensure that our cut line is past the score line, so the edge of the cutting die is to the left of the score line. The opening to the frame is right along the score line. I'm going to center that from top and bottom, and then I'm going to tape that down with a little bit of Post-it tape. So we're again only going to cut from that score line to the right, and you can see how I lined that inside of the frame right up along the score line. So now what we want to do is put the plate, the top plate, along the score line. So we're going to make sure this card is nice and straight, and we only want to cut from the score line to the right. So I'm going to lay that plate right along that score line, making sure again it's nice and straight. And now we can go ahead and run that through the die cutting machine. I'm running it through a couple of times just because there's so much detail in that lattice work. I want to make sure that I cut completely through. And now you can see that we cut from the score line over, so just to the right of the card. I'm using my little tool to just pop out all those little pieces. That's called the Tool-in-One from Spellbinders. And now what I can do is cut away the excess. So I'm just going to cut right along that score line from the edge of the card right up to that cut line. And now we can fold this. And so that'll be the front flap on our card. I'll just press that out with the bone folder. And you can see how cute that is. It just gives you a new, kind of unique design for the front of your card. Let's go back to that rectangle die. I've selected some really pretty patterned paper. I've got this kind of leafy pattern for the front and the florals for the inside of the card. And that is going to come from the Art Impressions Gnome paper pack. And look at all these cute little images. You even have some strawberries, so you could certainly use that in the background as well. So I'll just quickly flip through so you can get a quick idea of what these double-sided papers look like. And now let's go ahead and die cut the rectangle. And I cut that second piece using my trimmer, and I cut that down a little bit smaller than the inside of the card. So that would measure 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. I'm just going to center these and glue these in place. And now I did decide to create the look of the ground. So I went back to that paper pack, and that same vine pattern paper came in a little bit darker green. So I'm going to just cut a little bit of it, maybe about 3/4 of an inch, and I'll run that through the die cutting machine so I get that really nice finished stitched edge. And then we'll place that down at the bottom of this rectangular panel. And then our little lady will have something to stand on. It's not a drastic difference between the 2 colors, but it does add a little bit more interest to the card. So now what I want to do is put a little strawberry in this little container at the top. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the stem, and we'll pop that in place. And then I want her to be holding one of the little stems of strawberries. So I'm just going to kind of trim around her hand there so it looks like she's holding on to these strawberries. And then for the rest of these, we're going to fill this little bucket filled with strawberries. So I'm going to use these little double strawberries. That's just going to make it really quick and easy to fill up this little basket. And then for some added interest, we're going to have some of the little berries look like they're falling out of the container because she's got so many, she just can't hold on to them all. So what I'll do is pop some of those up just for a little bit of added dimension. I'm going to pop one up in the basket. And then we'll pop up some of these others as well. And I also want to pop up that one that's out of that container on the right, just to give it a little bit more dimension. So you can see that there. We're going to just glue her flat. I'm using the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to glue her down. And she's just so cute. I just love these little ladies. They're just so much fun. And I put a little dimensional square behind that strawberry, and I'm just removing the backing there so that that'll be popped up as well. I didn't want to remove the backing until I was sure I had everything in the right place. So let's add a few little foam squares to the back of each of these strawberries, and then we can go ahead and have these again kind of look like they're falling out of that basket. I'm just lightly placing them down for now because I might want to move them around a little bit, and if I don't completely push them down, you can see here I can just kind of shift those around. Now I'll press those down to make sure they're down permanently. Let's take a piece of the wood grain cardstock. This again is from that Gnome's paper pack. And for the sentiment, we're going to be using the Little Things sentiment set from Art Impressions. That one is cute there that says every day is a fresh start. But we're going to be using the one that says life is short, make it sweet, which is perfect for this card. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that. I'm just kind of centering it on this panel, but we're going to be cutting this down to size. So let's go ahead and ink that up. And now to get that stitched border that we had on the front of the card from that rectangle, I'm just going to die cut this using the rectangle die. That'll give me that stitch border on the left and on the right hand side of the sentiment. I'll just tape that in place with some post-it tape and run that through the die cutting machine. Now that's going to get placed towards the left hand side on the inside of the card, but I will center it from the top and bottom. And then before I glue that down completely, I wanted to add a little strawberry at the top, kind of tucked in behind there and sort of flapped over the front of the sentiment. And then we'll add some double strawberries to the left hand side on the bottom, right underneath the sentiment. I'm trying not to pop anything up inside the card. I don't want it to get too dimensional on the inside. And then you've got plenty of room here for your sentiment on the inside flap. So I did decide to add one more little strawberry. I'm just gluing it flat right down here by her feet. And then I've got a few little leftovers. The leftovers you could use on the envelope if you wanted to. That would be really cute. So let's take a quick look at the finished card. And again, I just love her. I love that pop of red. It's just so much fun. And then we've got our sentiment on the inside, and it's off to the left so that it's hidden behind that little flap. And you have plenty of room there to write your little message. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video and a look at this brand new stamp set. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.